commitment in energy transition. And this goes towards what we do in carbon capture and storage, towards what we do in energy transition efficiency as well as environment. And that includes project that I'm going to be sharing later about nature-based solution that we are pursuing aggressively. So why, when we talk about energy transition, and it's important, and this is where we know today that the key theme of the century, when we talk about what's actually driving energy demand, is AI. And we know today that AI is undisputedly becoming one of the foundational technology, or what we call the fifth energy revolution, that's actually driving what the energy surge is all about globally. And what you see today is that energy demand or electricity demand coming from AI alone has actually surged from, in 2024, just 415 kilowatt, but now it has actually more than double that. So that is just unprecedented. And this is where Petronas, and I come from a national oil company in a beautiful country called Malaysia. And for us, instead of talking about energy transition, for us, the real conversation is actually about energy addition. And today, when we talk about tackling energy security in the country, it's about how do you actually cope up with the energy demand with the use of technology advancement, but you do so without causing a lot of harm to the environment. And the key theme that people like to talk about when we talk about energy trilemma is having energy that is affordable, reliable, as well as sustainable. And it is never a question of either or it's never a question of whether we are competing among the three themes, but it is a topic that has to be complementary altogether. And for that reason, Petronas, we are at the forefront of a couple of things. So firstly, when I talk about my country, Malaysia, I'm actually centrally located in what? A region that's called Asia Pacific. By 2050, Asia Pacific, which will be the home of 5.2 billion people, would actually be driving 50% of the energy demand of the world. And today, when we talk about energy transition, we have to remember that transition must be anchored on having equity and having a universal access throughout the region. And that includes what we call social justice as well as inclusive access. But secondly, you might ask, like, why? And this is the part where when we talk about a global population of 8 billion people today, there's still 10% of the population in the world that do not have access to electricity. And this is a staggering amount. Today, in my home country, Petronas, as a national oil company, we've got the obligation to make sure that we can actually put lights on each of the houses. And this is not unique in Malaysia. It is a unique situation within Asia and across Asia Pacific. And when you see that staggering amount, globally as well. So while we talk about decarbonization and providing equity on energy access to the rest of the world, I think we have to acknowledge that we can't do this if we don't have collaboration and cooperation. And when we talk about energy transition and sharing the knowledge and technology in the world, it has to be done on a cooperative global manner as well. So this is why I'm going to be sharing a bit more what we do on the context of Petronas and how we are trying to actually encourage a lot more collaboration, not just within us, not just within university, but across country, in actually making sure that we can actually have a borderless technology knowledge sharing among countries and companies. So let's talk about decarbonization, and it is today a means to actually address energy security. And today we know that Brazil is blessed because 90% of your energy comes from renewable. But for some countries in Asia, especially, when we talk about gas, it is not a transition fuel. For some countries, it is actually a destination fuel altogether. So You remember my son cold shower moment, right? Just now. So when I drove him to school one day, and I do drive an EV car, trying to actually be conscious about environment as well. So I tell him this as well. Although it might be less emission, but remember this, that in Malaysia, the battery that's still charging is actually coming from fossil fuel as well. So when we talk about dependency on energy, it will still come for some country through oil and gas. But in developing country, what is actually needed? How do you actually make sure that you can actually do it with less emission altogether? So in Asia, gas is actually an important energy source. So we wanted to actually reduce relying away from coal. So that is our transition at the moment. And however, when the reality is the cleanest form of fossil fuel is still gas, but it is still coming with a lot of challenge, and that is in the form of CO2, high CO2 fuel within Asia especially. So for Petronas, what we're trying to actually do today is actually tackle emission through technology. And one of the particular technology that we're looking at today is carbon capture and storage. So we want to be able to actually produce responsibly. And in Malaysia, we have the capacity to score more than 100 years carbon altogether. And it is more than enough for the country to actually be doing this. So with the effort that we've got today, Malaysia and Petronas all together, so we are transitioning to net zero, and we saw opportunity for CCS to as a service for the hard to abate sector from the neighboring country within Asia Pacific, because we do want to make sure that the whole community and the whole region could actually benefit from what we can do in the country. So today we are actually set to be injecting 15 million ton by 2030. And we're doing this throughout with a collaboration across the sector. And that includes one of the technology that we're looking into, which is a partnership between Petronas, CCS Venture, MISC, and the Japanese Mitsui OSK line, where we're trying to actually develop 60,000 cubic meter liquid CO2 transportation line that will be one of the most developed low pressure, low temperature technology. Today, it is actually 8 times bigger than the liquid CO2 that you actually see operating today. So that's to enable the ability to actually support the Asia Pacific region to actually export CO2 into Malaysia. As part of a regional collaboration in Indonesia, our neighboring country, we are part of the Southeast Asia country collaboration, where we are trying together, working with another national oil company, to unlock gas high CO2 of 30 TCF that would actually provide energy security within the Asia Pacific region as well. So these are the kind of regional collaboration that we're trying to do to tackle the energy needs of the region. And in Brazil, we do have at least 2 multi-TCF gas discovery that comes with high CO2. And this is where the collaboration and the technology from the consortium company will be put in together to make sure that we can unlock this gas field that can benefit the people in Brazil. So this is where we are working closely and wanting to actually collaborate with the Ministry of Mines and Energy to, in terms of developing the decree that could benefit the CCS development, and making sure that our collaboration with ANP as well to support the establishment of a regulatory framework that would enable a CCS development that's not just technically feasible, but commercially viable, and most importantly, do less harm to the environment. So, in order to demonstrate our seriousness about the topic, do you know that 1/3 of our current R&D portfolio today are actually just dedicated on CCS technology development? So let's talk about other things. From RDI focus on university and technological partners. The other areas that we're looking at is actually developing capture technology, looking into injectivity across the Santos and Campos Basin. And we're now moving towards CO2 are not just EOR, to a permanent storage altogether, because we want to be able to actually show that we can decarbonize oil and gas and actually support the other hard to abate sector. We've just also initiated an R&D project with University Sao Paulo, embarking on an air separation unit that can produce oxygen at high purity as well. And this would be via the oxy-fuel combustion. And it's actually part of our larger global project that's actually called ZEUS, which is Zero Emission Power Station, which can actually deploy advanced oxy-fuel combustion that can convert the high CO2 natural gas into blue electron. And we hope that this can be a source of electricity where we can actually store and inject the CO2 onto a permanent solution. Great, many things that we see CCS can actually do and develop within the country. So, ladies and gentlemen, while we talk about energy security, I think what happened in end of April was actually a wake-up call for a lot of people when we saw the massive power outage in Spain and Portugal, right? So when we saw IEA report in 2024, we saw this large surge of electricity coming from, both the needs of renewable and natural gas as well. Again, it's not either or, it's complementary. So a large part of our energy transition, trying to support a reliable deployment of renewable and energy transition, is looking into some of the projects, for example, hydrogen. So today we do have a project in Porto Alegre where we are collaborating with PUCI to build a hydrogen technology lab. And this would actually help to characterize low carbon and certify the product. And this would actually be enabling it to actually certify hydrogen product more effectively. But in fact, this would actually be the first of its kind in South America. And it is accredited ISO 17025. And in fact, it's actually the largest in Brazil at the moment, a project that we're very proud of. Besides that, we're also investing in new material for electrolyzers. We're doing LIBO separation. And we're testing new technology to capture CO2 during membrane and using digital twin. Battery will be a major role of our focus also at the moment. And a particular study that we're looking at today is actually utilizing metal CO2. And this would actually be used to actually store renewable. And we think these are wonderful things in terms of providing competitiveness and reliability towards what renewable energy can actually provide. Today, we are proud when we talk about what is the offering from Petronas. And this is where we say that we are an energy superstore, being able to actually provide different source of energy to the rest of the world. Today, we do have a company called Gentari that's actually operating 8 gigawatts of renewable in Malaysia, India, Taiwan, as well as Australia. And this is part of us trying to actually have a balanced portfolio in terms of what meeting the global energy needs today would be. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you remember 3 years ago when we went through the pandemic cycle, who would actually imagine that we actually survived all of that? But the key thing that happened was that we break barrier in terms of collaboration. So do you remember how we all work together regionally and between countries, where we actually harmonize policy, where we actually move supply and aid across border together, and we develop vaccine at record speeds. And all of this was actually done because of collaboration, regardless of country or company that you're in. We have proven that collaboration works. And this is a part where I think could be replicated when we talk about the sharing of technology and knowledge across border. So this is why I'm such a believer about regional scale collaboration. And RDI knowledge should not be unique to a specific company or country, but it should actually what we call transcend border altogether. So when we talk about this, Petronas, we are absolute about collaboration. And one particular collaboration that I want to highlight here is about what we did in a project called Blue Carbon Collective, which is collaboration between Malaysia as well as Brazil. So we are currently working on this Blue Carbon Collective, which is a combination of the research that we do with USP on looking into carbon sequestration through mangrove. And this is a research that we want to proliferate and be able to actually support the work that we do in Malaysia as well. And it's a collaboration that we do between the two companies, where we do have social investment through our Petronas Foundation, and where we have, as a technical and title partner to the Formula One Mercedes, come in to support and provide elevation to the work that we do here in both countries altogether. Beyond the project that you see here today, we do have many other joint collaboration. And what we wanted to do further is actually looking into collaborate between more universities in Brazil as well as Malaysia. In fact, today we have actually enabled multiple MOUs between the two universities so that more work can actually be done across border and more community and people could actually benefit altogether. But we also looked into joint partnership with company. One particular project that I do like as well is a drone monitoring project that we do have with Hexal Sinopec and ExmoBot that would actually help drone monitoring across 400 kilometers altogether. And this would really help when we talk about monitoring of emission work, making a lot of things more automated. Beyond that, in ASEAN, where we do have 10 member countries in Southeast Asia, and where Malaysia is actually the chair this year, Petronas is actually currently leading the Southeast Asia Methane Emission Technology Evaluation Center, or in short, we call it METEC. So with the support of the partner that you see there today, what we're trying to do today is actually build a test facility so that the energy sector could actually test their technology prior to deployment. This is also part of a much larger work that we do called Methane Leadership Program, trying to make sure that we could proliferate education and knowledge of what methane is all about. And today we've actually done this across 300 participants and more than 500 countries. So I'm going to end with a bit of recognition and acknowledgement to the work that ANP has actually done, because we could not do all of this collaboration without the support of ANP. But I think more also is, importantly, is the role of all of us in terms of enabling a lot of this technology to happen. A topic closer to my heart is about diversity. And I'm glad that when we talk about the diversity of the researcher in our project, we do have more than 1/3, which I do hope to be more. But I do believe that women scientists play a vital role in terms of shaping the most forward-looking projects and solutions when we talk about energy transition. And this reflects the global commitment and what I advocate in Petronas as well as part of our diversity framework. And what we do is also trying to encourage a lot more girls to be interested in terms of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. So a large part of what Petronas do beyond just operation is we do have a large commitment towards powering knowledge. And as you can hear just now, that's why we do have our own university, University Technology Petronas. We do have our training institute called Institute Technology Petronas. But a large part of actually trying to actually encourage science, technology, engineering, math is we do have our own science center called PetroScience that has been operating for more than 25 years. And we welcome 130,000 students to our Petronas Science Center every year as part of the commitment to actually make sure that we do get a lot more interest in STEM and hopefully a lot more girls to be participating. So I do hope when you do come to Malaysia one day, please do drop by to our Petronas Science Center. An amazing site and amazing experience altogether. But Petronas. We're driven and passionate about progress, and I do hope this is something that we can actually do more today. And thank you, ANP, for enabling all of this to happen. So, yeah.
Very nice to listen to you. I knew we are the person to be listened. Very inspiring as a leader that goes beyond speech. As we mentioned at the beginning, and you mentioned as well, you are really in 2024 invested 100% of our R&D mandatory, but actually we call as opportunity investment coming from the exploration production contracts with ANP. We invested fully in energy transition, environmental protection, and energy efficiency teams. So you passed through your presentation all the teams we're going to be discussing today, from CCS to NBS to methane, even diversity, which is very, very important to be included in this path of decarbonization and energy transition. And I really like the opportunities for collaboration. So as we mentioned 2 days before of our agenda with the Human Resource Program, we now have in this new cycle the opportunity to have international scholarships, exchange programs. So I think it would be very nice to see our students also doing part of their graduation, doctoral masters in Malaysia, for instance. And following those examples, the projects you brought, I would like to ask you, Swana, real examples that you can link technology innovation with real social and environmental impacts. Even in projects you go beyond the R&D clauses here in Brazil, if you can share with us, which we are at ANP, we're very looking for, not just economical results, but also social and environmental impacts in our R&D investments. So do you have anything to share with us?
Yeah. Probably I'm gonna touch a bit about the Blue Carbon Collective that I showed just now. And this is a special project because it's not just research, it's also environmental and it's also social as well. The collaboration that we've got on research is actually looking into, looking into the land-based use, looking how we can actually check the soil condition and actually sink a lot more carbon, right? So these are where we see the symbiosis between what we see in Brazil that can actually be replicated in other ecosystems in the global south country like Malaysia as well. So I think this is happening really well from the research sharing. But what's also important about this project was the environmental and social part. On environmental, we've launched our 1 million tree program where we actually planting 1 million tree and mangroves all together. So the research that we do would actually support how we're going to be doing our mangrove plantation throughout globally. But the other part about while we're trying to do this responsibly or environmentally is how we actually do it, the execution, which is where the social element comes in, where we involve the community and doing all of this, where we actually create opportunity, not just jobs, but in terms of entrepreneurial opportunity in terms of how we're going to be executing this. And I think it's something that actually fits all the box from research, environment, as well as social. And this is where I'm going to give a bit of teaser because these are the kind of project that we like, and this is the kind of project that we want to be pursuing more research, environment, and social. And in a couple of months, we're going to be launching what we call an innovation challenge. And more information will be coming soon. And it would actually be something that is good for ecology, technology, as well as social. So if I can give a bit of teaser and introduction, you see that very tall, young gentleman there. That's my head of RDI, Jonas, and he's going to be leading this initiative. So if there are any innovators here who are interested to find out more, you could reach out to him and find out about how you can actually participate in this project.
Oh, real like so startups, entrepreneur. Have you heard that? So just to close up, Swana, if you want to give us a final message regarding how you see the Brazilian innovation ecosystem, which barriers, or if you have any lessons learned, experience to share with other operators regarding how to fully invest in energy transition, following the public policy, how to prioritize, and do you have any tip or something to share as a final message?
Yeah, and this is where I'm gonna be very honest, and I truly are impressed because in Malaysia, Petronas is also a regulator, right? But I am very impressed with what ANP is doing here in Brazil in making sure that we will be investing on RDI and how companies are actually turning from an obligation towards what we are passionate and going to be driving to resolve the needs of the community. So while there are already opportunities provided, I think this is where the innovators and startup out there should grab all this opportunity and actually try and push to do more. When we saw the opportunity here in Brazil, we were very impressed. And the kind of quality that we see here in Brazil is just amazing. So that's where the Blue Carbon Collective came in, right? We want to be making sure that we could actually have RDI that transcend border. And when we talk about decarbonization technology, it should be something that can benefit the global population altogether. And I think this is where having the availability of fund or like great framework that you have, having like great innovators that are going to be working on this challenge of the world, but most importantly, how we all collaborate, regardless of company, country, borders, to make sure that we can actually work towards the same ambition altogether.
Very nice to hear, Swan. It's very impressive. We already reached, and you made us more anxious to keep following you, following Petronas to see much more to come. And I really like how you are linking with Malaysia and everything very collaborative. I think innovation is in that way very collaborative with all the necessary partners. So thank you very much. It was very inspirational, and it linked with everything that we're going to have in our agenda today. Thank you.
Obrigada.